A fruit quarantine declared in California, 79 square miles lockdown. Is it constitutional? Well, probably not. Cliff Notes version of what's going on with the Chinese bio lab over in California. For those of you who saw a little mention here or there, we'll just give you the real short notes out there because a lot of news agencies are not covering it at all. Very disturbing. We got story reports. We have oblivious real estate agents, and there is a toilet paper warning that you're going to need here as well. Well, let's jump right into it, folks. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and we cover your reports as well as news reports about what's going on around the world, what you need to know, and getting right down to it. We do want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold Group. If you have retirement funds that you want to get into something more secure, Jonathan and his team can answer all your questions. There'll be a link at the end of the video for that. White Wolf points this out. Unrelated to today's topic, but may be useful for a future video, which we'll get into here, right? I have had 3 emergency alerts for exercises sent to my phone since the 19th of July. So folks, just in 2 weeks, 3 emergency alerts, all exercises. They come every few months normally, but 3 tests since the 19th. Each one a more lengthy response than the last. The most recent one said, "Don't worry." And a number of other people chimed in saying that they're seeing similar things in their areas as well. We don't have a geographical tag on there, but if you're seeing these type of alerts come across your phone, please let us know and let us know whereabouts you're seeing them. And if you see any explanation or any local explanations about that, please let us know about that. All right, let's jump into the Chinese bioweapons lab found in California. Why is a Chinese bioweapons lab in California? That's a good question. I kind of was late to jump on that kind of thing, and a bunch of other channels on YouTube did cover it, but the mainstream is just not covering it at all. So I feel the need to go through it real fast. If you want to find more information, there's other channels that have gone in more in depth on this, and you can find those through your most trusted resources out there. Chinese bioweapon lab, it was found by accident. So it was a warehouse that was just supposed to be having some boxes and stuff like that. And there they saw a code enforcement thing. There's a hose coming out the back of the building and drilled through the wall. It's like, what's that about? So they're like, that's not supposed to be there. It's just supposed to be like having boxes and stuff. So they went in, and what they found was a bioweapon lab. Over 900 mice, thousands of vials of biological substances. They tested a bunch of these vials, and they found over 20 infectious agents, including the cough and multiple variations thereof, as well as things like HIV, herpes, and a lot of other viruses, some really nasty stuff in there. With the medical test mice in there, they're just like what's used for labs as well, but thousands of unmarked vials. Does that sound a little bit nefarious? Now, when they started trying to track back who owns this thing, who's renting this building, and all this kind of stuff like that, where the package is being shipped from, they just found just not real Chinese companies. They weren't able to pin down any addresses. When they checked certain addresses, the addresses either didn't exist or just there was no one there. It's like a farm, and just stuff like this. So the question that we need to ask is, since this was just like accidentally found by some code enforcement guy who was just like wanting to, hit somebody with a fine, how many more of these weapons labs are in the United States? We know the United States has a whole bunch of these kind of labs all over the world. Hopefully we're not running them sort of like what they're running here. But how many more in the US? And then the second question is, if you're going to do unethical research, which looks like what they were doing, or all that kind of stuff, why wouldn't you be doing that in China? Why would you be doing that in the United States? Like, you can get away with stuff in China. Why weren't they working in like Mozambique or some country where they could just do whatever they want to and just bribe a few people? Why were they, well, in California, you can probably bribe a whole bunch of people there too. But anyway, why would you do it in the United States unless unless it's extremely dangerous and they didn't want to do it in their home country, which is concerning. Or two, they wanted to get it as close to its destination as possible. Bioweapons. Let that sink in for a moment. Were they experimenting, or were they trying to replicate bioweapons, produce bioweapons here in the United States, where they could then disperse them? What happens if all of the Chinese buffets and Chinese restaurants suddenly were to spike all of their food with infectious agents? That has to be a question that is asked. Potentially dangerous or intentional release. All right, and that is not the only crazy medical story or questionable bio stuff coming out of California. We're not talking about San Francisco. That's a whole nother issue right there. San Francisco and the poo all over the streets and stuff like that. But Psalm 146 had this to say, a viewer. Just found out that there's an invasive fly species here in California provoking a quarantine. It's an agricultural community, so it's another hit to the food chain. So, of course, I started digging into it, and the towel fruit fly coming from Asia is a serious pest to agriculture. This neighborhood, subject to quarantine, 79 square miles. They've imposed special rules for the movement of fruit. So now, we've gone across the bridge with the whole cough lockdowns, and so now governments think that they can just lock down for whatever reason they feel like. So I was a little concerned that we were going to be hearing some pretty crazy things about this, but so there's rules for movement of fruit. So if you're not carrying fruit, you're free to move. But heaven forbid you try taking your apple across town, okay? And don't even talk about if you take a banana, right? So fruit and vegetables, not allowed to move around. They have to stay within the quarantine zone, and they have to dispose of their fruit and vegetables in an appropriate way. And they're going in and destroying, let me read this, on properties within 200 meters of fly detections, they detect a fly, within 200 meters of your property, crews will cut host fruit and vegetables. They're just going to come onto your property and start cutting down fruit trees, cutting down your garden. Are we paying attention yet, friends? The California Department of Fruit Enforcement apparently thinks that they have the authority to come in and step onto your property without your permission and start destroying your property if they have a fruit fly they're worried about. Maybe you've seen this fruit fly, maybe you haven't. But the government says it's there, and so therefore they have the authority to do what? Up to what level? Oh, they can do anything they want. Friends, that's how you know that you don't really live in a republic anymore, is when the government really doesn't have any limits on its power whatsoever. Those properties will also be treated with a naturally derived organic approved material. Sure it is. Known as spinosad, which will help remove any live adult fruit flies and reduce the density of the population. So normally, ordinary Americans would ask crazy things like, what if a landowner doesn't give them the permission to come onto their property or to destroy their property, like fruit trees, their gardens? Are the owners being compensated for these things? The California Department of Fruits and Nuts coming onto your property and just being like, you know what? There's a fly, and so therefore we've decided to burn your house down. Where are the limits to their power? Where are the limits to their power? Because we haven't found them yet. And with word out on the street that the regime in charge right now is actively considering declaring a climate emergency to the same with the same powers that was used for the cough, yes, we said that those powers would be used again, and there's active conversation happening and active lobbying right now for the administration to impose climate rules that are rammed through in the same way that the cough restrictions were. Shutting down and confiscating power grid, infrastructure, everything. This is from Dave here in Jacksonville, Florida. Nobody has mashed potatoes. Went to 3 stores, including the commissary on the military base, empty shelves. Rice is still relatively plentiful though, less than normal, but you can still find rice. Potato flakes and mashed potatoes are empty shelves though. This is from Blue River Country. Sam's Club in Greenwood, Indiana is limiting basmati rice to 2 per member. There wasn't a whole lot left on the pallet. This is from a viewer. They sent me a screenshot. I took this of from a local realtor that I know. He is young and didn't live out the last recession. The guy who commented, I know, did. He knows what's coming, as do I. I feel bad for the ones who are so oblivious. However, the information is out there. They just have those Biden economics glasses on. And here's what the realtor sent. Quote, there is no housing market crash coming. The time to purchase or build is now. Waiting on your dream will likely cost you more in the near future. So quit waiting, friends. A home is not an expense, it is an asset. Invest in yourself and buy one. Where to start on that? So housing prices are going to go up further. Is that what we're hearing? How can they go up further? If everyone's losing their jobs and we're losing money as we go into the recession, how are house prices supposed to keep going up? They're already ridiculous, aren't they? In most places, the housing prices are just stupid. And people think that it's just going to keep going up. That's not how the world works. Things that go up must come down. The simple fact is that you can build a house for way cheaper than what you can purchase them from nowadays. Now there's things that blocking that and all that kind of stuff, but another thing, as an accountant by trade, I can't let this pass. A home is not an expense, it is an asset. Wrong. Wrong. An asset is something that produces value. If you buy a home or a house and you rent it out to somebody, then yes, it is an asset. If you're living in it and no revenue is coming from it, it is not an asset, friends. It is not. That's a lie. It doesn't even make sense. It is costing you money to upkeep the house, to pay your real estate taxes, to pay all your utility bills. It's continuing to degrade. That's why you have to repair your house, right? It costs you money, therefore it is not an asset. If you disagree with me strongly, go ahead and pop it down in the comments down below. That is where all that stuff happens. So I'm not saying don't get a house. I'm not saying don't buy a house. Buying a house is a smart move in a lot of cases, but when people buy too much house, it ends up costing them more than renting a smaller place. And if you're buying a house in the wrong place, it can cost you a heck of a lot more. So this is from another viewer in the White Mountains of Arizona. No rice shortage of any brand and no price increases out here. Okay. No Walmart brand cheese though. They're fully stocked on vegetables though in Arizona. Interesting. This is from Vicky. My name is Vicky, and I just noticed this when I was replenishing my toilet paper supply. I purchased new toilet paper from Costco, and then when I came home to stack the toilet paper and compared it to my older purchase, I noticed the sheet difference. The sheet count is significantly reduced, and the price is higher. Shrinkflation, my butt. but more like indirect rationing. Costco, the land of surplus. So sad people shop at Costco specifically for the large quantities. Large was one of the special things in America. Anyways, I informed many of my friends and they seem to be not aware but are now upset. I think this should be brought to people's attention since I think many people don't pay attention to detail. And that's so true. The honest thing to do is just raise the price, right? But what they're doing is they're just shrinking the size in such a deceptive way that makes you think that you don't know it. Now, unfortunately, I'm not keeping up with current toilet paper trends because I still have about 1,000 rolls of toilet paper here in the house. So when the toilet paper shortage happened, let's just say I walked into that already having 500 rolls of toilet paper because I was making some stuff that I was selling on Amazon. It was a little hobby of mine. And so I had a whole bunch of toilet paper. I quickly moved all that toilet paper over to Amazon and sold out relatively quickly. But after that happened, I made sure I had enough inventory, and I'm not selling on Amazon anymore. So I just have literally 1,000 rolls of toilet paper. Anyway, it'll be a while before I use it all up. So this is from Mary in Indiana. Pennsylvania, sorry. I got online with Martin's, which is a store, right, to start another pickup order. I was blown away at how much prices have increased from last week on items that I use all the time. Progresso Classic Vegetable Soup is $4.09 a can. The other Progresso soups even higher. Last year, I got them for under $2 a can when they were not even on sale. These prices are disturbing. Is anyone else seeing prices double what they were several years ago? And once again, look me right in the eyes and tell me how it's, 7% inflation, or as they're now trying to tell us, 3% inflation. It is absurd. This is from Jeff. From the foothills of North Carolina, both local Walmart supercenters are looking rough. The produce departments could use some produce. What they have is either very little or none at all. Very little sandwich meat, good on cheese, dairy aisles stocked, about 30%, about the same as the eggs. So dairy aisles are stocked about 30%, and so are eggs. Peaches, good luck. We haven't seen them in months. Canned food is down quite a bit to about 40%. Vinegar, 2 bottles. Sugar, one store had 2 25-pound bags and the other had 3. The 5-pound section was rough, 25% if that. Frozen is down below 50%. Soda, that's going to depend on what you're drinking. Coffee section is roughly 30% full, and tea is gone. We've been following your channel for some time. Keep up the good work. Always do appreciate you guys a lot too. And this is from someone who did go through a power outage, though I am kind of spoiling the... so there's a lesson here, some things to think about. Steve, my wife left work at Lowe's the other day and stopped by the Dollar Tree. She called me at work to tell me Jimmy Dean's sausage and cheese croissants were reduced to 25 cents each. She asked me how many I want. I said all of them. She brought home about 113 individually wrapped for about $28. She also got a ton of frozen peas and carrots, California and Asian blend vegetables, all for 25 cents a piece. Major score, right? Pop-up thunderstorms as she was pulling into the driveway. I got it all to the deep freezer in the basement, and 1 hour later, our power went out for the next 12 hours. Luckily, I had backup power. If you're still interested, I have one key takeaway. We are not preparing to live, as Alan Watts would say, but we are preparing to not die, or at least sooner than expected. Some thoughts there. Yeah, if you have a lot of frozen stuff, what are you going to do if the power goes out for an extended period of time? Could be 12 hours, could be longer. Are you prepared to at least keep your freezers going until you can either cook or consume your frozen stuff? That's a good question out there. And If you're interested in finding more about what you can do with your retirement accounts to make them more secure, you can talk to Jonathan and his team over at Genesis Gold. If you mention this channel, you'll get the start fees waived. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here you can find right on the screen. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.